Hernandez. This past Saturday, I got top 4 at the top level winner 2 case, went X1 in Swiss. We decided to split top 4 because we were all pretty tired and we all wanted to go home. But all in all, X and 1, my only loss being to my own misplay. So the deck performed way better than I expected it to. So huge shout outs to my team, the Extenders. Huge shout out to my teammates, Gavi and John and Henry, for lending me most of the cards so I could play the deck. Without further ado, I'll go into the deck profile. I was playing a 60 card branded Grass, modified it a bit just to cater to our local scene, but everything else is pretty much standard. We played 3 Aluber, Gesture, Despia, played 3 Fallen of Albaz, 3 Cartasia. Cartasia was the MVP during this entire tournament, while this and Grass got me into so many plays, even with unplayable hands or semi-unplayable hands with through one hand trap. She got me through those hands, so I could push through and get secure the win. We played 3 Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Albion really good in conjunction with the 2 crimes I was running. Dump Retribution, Dump Brand Fusion, or Jump Retribution, Jump Brand High Spirits, depending on how I want to run the play. We ran 2 Mercurier just because we're playing Allure and we really want to see this card, whether it's banishing it or adding it through Branded Lost. It's a good extender or a good follow-up play, or it's also good in your opponent's turn when they try to stop you from Gimmick Puppet locking them. We played for our Bestial package. We played 1 Bestial Lubellion, 1 Magnamut, because it's a 1, 3 Serenir. Serenir with Branded High Spirits is just Branded Fusion. That's it's just the gist of it. Like, if you open Branded High Spirits and Serenir, you open the God Hand. I know, Bubba, I know. For our one-ofs, we play Springen's Kit. Usually use this to recycle the Branded Retribution, just so I could have follow-up plays, or when I had to do Fusion Duplication, got back to Branded Fusion. Tragedy, really good if you draw it, really good to send it off Branded Fusion so you can chain block. A Stellar of the White Forest, this actually came up a few times. It also came up in the final round of Swiss, in which I had a dead Grasslook screener because my opponent was also on 60 cards, and I had drawn more than he had. So I normaled, sent the Grass's greener, and was able to get Krem into Cartasia and OTK. 1 Sheeran, really good when you hit it with Grass, really good if it's in your hand alongside a Cartasia. And as well for chain blocking when you don't really need to go into the Albion because you started with Branded High Spirits. You go into the Lubellion so you can maintain more resources in your hand, and this also gives you a free Masquerade, which is mainly what I did with it, and obviously the namesake of the deck, Gimmick Puppet, Nightmare. Pretty self-explanatory. You need to run this card if you want to have a competitive chance. For our spells, we had 3 Branded Opening, 3 Branded High Spirits. There were a few times where I opened Branded High Spirits with no targets, which is, it sucks. It sucks. But usually when I opened more than 1 Branded High Spirits with no targets, it was accompanied by a Branded Opening, so it was a free discard for Branded Opening and a free add back in end phase. So we were able to play through those hands. We played Triple Fusion Deployment. A lot of times this was used for Cartasia. A couple times I used it for Fallen of Albaz to catch my opponent off guard. We ran 3 Thrust, 1 Talents. 3 Thrust gets you into Fusion Duplication, which we run, that Grassroot Screener, Allure Darkness. It gets you into our Branded Fusion even if your opponent has a monster on the board. And Talents, a few times I just thrusted for Talents because I had everything. after viewing my opponent's hand and breaking their board, I knew that they had nothing. Or after breaking their board, and I look at and I count the cards in their hand, I know they have no more hand traps because I've kept a good count of what they've added to hand, and I just used it to draw two. One of the matches, it actually drew me into Fusion Duplication and Mercurier, which just sealed the game for my opponent. Um, three droplets and three Book of Eclipse. These are the better board breakers that we ran. Book of Eclipse really came in clutch in one of my rounds versus Ubel, in which I did not draw a single Bestial, which is fine because it's not like I run a huge package for Bestials. Because it's not like I run a huge package for Bestials, but it's fine. He built a full board with Verudris, Phantom, Desiree, the Rabbit, the Angel statue, and also ended with the trap to special summon the Unchained Soul Rage. So it was a full U-Bell board, uninterrupted, and this card, not single-handedly, because I did have to conglomeration. I also opened Thrust. I opened multiple things that forced his main interactions, and then on the last one is when I flipped the Book of Eclipse to break his board and set up the Gimmick Puppet lock for his turn, so I could just win on the subsequent turn. Honestly, overperformed. Continuing with our spells, I'm so sorry. We had triple Allure of Darkness. So we ran triple Allure of Darkness. It's pot of desires without having to banish your one ofs, your very important one ofs. Um, it also provides as an extender if one of your banishes is either Mercurier or the Tragedy. Um, Honestly, every time I activated Lord Darkness yesterday on Saturday in the tournament, it was draw grass and an additional card. That's what this card said. The text of this card, because every time I activated Lord Darkness, I drew grass and then something else to play. It was just insane. One of's Branded Fusion. Honestly, hitting it to one didn't really hurt the deck. It sort of hurts the consistency. You almost never opened Branded Fusion in the first place. It's something that if you did, oh, well, this is a plus. But there's so many ways to get to this, and there's so many ways to get the Puppet Lock without having to activate Branded Fusion, that doesn't really hurt the deck. Branded Lost. Usually, this is the best card. Adds a card to hand, makes it so they can't interrupt or interact with your fusions once they're fusion summoned. I activated this when all my opponent had was a Caesar and activated Brand of Fusion, so they couldn't Caesar my Brand of Fusion when I had no more extenders. So this actually won me the game by just hard drawing it. The one of called by did not draw it a single time during the tournament, which is fine. We drew a ton of other one ofs, so it's not that bad. Branded in red. Branded in red, I was playing two, but I decided to test out a new build for that tournament specifically, and I'll show you what I decided to put in for the second Branded in red. Branded in white, it's just if you resolve the Grasshook Screener and you have Branded in white in hand, this is just Branded Fusion. There's not much else to say about this. You resolve grass, you activate Branded in white, you just Branded Fusion without playing into Ash. We have that Grasshook Screener, obviously. I resolved this card every single round I played except the final round. This card honestly overperformed. I never played the card before, and being the first tournament I played with the card, I was pretty happy with the results. The one of Foolish Burial for dumping Saranir when I already have one of the traps or the Branded Fusion in Graveyard, and the Gold Sarcophagus to banish the Mercurier from deck, or Tragedy depending on what I need. For our traps, we ran four. We ran Retribution, which is pretty standard. We run Duplication, standard as well. We ran Banishment. Banishment was really good. This allowed me post side deck to go into a Light and Darkness Dragon, which for this regional that I just played, I played it main deck, but it was a side deck option during the tournament for Saturday. The card that I decided to test out over second Branded Red was Brightest Blazing Branded King. This won me the game against Whitewoods because he made a Chaos Angel. There's no way for me to beat over that Chaos Angel unless I make a Titanic Lad, which I couldn't have done because I already used Branded in High Spirits and dumped the Titanic Lad. So this single-handedly destroyed, got me the win because I was able to get rid of the Chaos Angel and all of my opponent's follow-up. As well as I used this against Runic, I negated the field spell, negated every card that he had, every single uh, floodgate, and it won me the game. Honestly, one of the MVPs of the deck. For the extra deck, we ran double Grand Gwynol. Pretty standard. It's very necessary. A lot of times you don't want to set up Gimmick Puppet on your turn because if your opponent has a Bestial in your end phase and you did not, or you could not search Mercurier based on the lines that you had to go through, setting up Gimmick Puppet on your turn was very risky and you would have been susceptible. There's still a way to Gimmick Puppet lock your opponent even if you set it up on your turn and the Bestial the Gimmick Puppet. It just takes a lot more hoops and you have to let your opponent get into main phase. Double Albion the Branded, really good. A lot of times I didn't even make him. Or a lot of times when I did make him, I did not activate his effect because I had other ways to go into the fusions, into Mirror Jade and other fusions that I want to go into. But honestly, the set usually set Branded in red. A lot of times, depending on the matchup, I set the Branded Banishment, or if I had already opened Branded in red, I set the Branded Retribution, or if I opened the Branded Fusion or Aliber, because Branded Retribution is just a really good interruption. It also gives you Branded Fusion back on your opponent's turn, so you have to go, so you can go through that. Double Mirror Jade. Mirror Jade pretty standard. A lot of times I had one of the plays, or the best play this deck has, which a lot of people may know, is Mirror Jade, dump, banish, fuse with Cartesia, Quem effect, bring back Mirror Jade, dump, banish. I did that a lot during the tournament as well. It won me most of my games against. It won me the games against Ubel, because I could get rid of his entire field. The Sanctifier, because otherwise, how are we gonna Gimmick Puppet lock your opponent? A lot of times when I didn't get to Gimmick Puppet, this just revived a Mirror Jade and a whatever monster on my opponent's side of the field. Titanic Lad. Search Quem and end phase, search Fallen of Albas. A lot of times I dumped this and end phase Fallen of Albas effect, and I wipe their board, and then on my turn I just turn everything sideways and swing. The one of Lubellion the Searing Dragon. Don't need more than that. A lot of times I did have to leave it on field, but it's fine because I run the Sharon, and a lot of times I was able to go into the Sharon, fusion summon, whatever, or dump the Sharon either with Foolish Burial, and put this back and make a Dragospelia. Rimbrum almost did not come up at all during the entire tournament, but it's mainly because I was. It's mainly because of my inexperience with the deck, not because of any fault of the card of its own. I did run Masquerade the Blazing Dragon main deck. This was honestly an MVP. This won me in time against Runic White Forest because they flipped Synchro Zone and they weren't able to deck me because I'm playing 60. And they've already Solemn Judgment me twice. So they were at 2k. They activated one more card to negate this, so they were at 1400. So they had two more activations and it was over for them. So they wouldn't be able to do anything. Light and Darkness Dragon was, for that tournament, was actually this Abelonatus. Because the local meta here is a lot of Tempai, because it's affordable, and it's still a pretty good deck even after the ban list. So I preferred this over this main deck, just for the simple fact that if I placed a Tempai, I could just I could just super poly them with just one Fallen Valves. Or if I never sent them to go first, you almost always want to go first with this deck. If they break your board because if they're playing the board breakers, it's fine, because in those matchups you send the Rimbrum, so you can summon the Fallen of Albaz. So the Gimmick Puppet lock isn't always necessary, but in that matchup it's really good. The Dragospelia, pretty self-explanatory. I did this to a Ubel player This is what helped me bait out some more interaction prior to doing the Book of Eclipse. One Guardian Chimera did this in the end phase of that said Ugabel player, popped both of their problem cards, which was a Nightmare Throne, because I already know he has the Spirit of Ugabel in hand. So even if he does activate it when I go to battle, I could just banish it with Mirror Jade, and the throne won't trigger. MVP, Boral of Furious Dragon, helped me get rid of a bunch of nasty cards. I really enjoyed doing this over a lot of our other utility fusions. Now for the side deck, we played double Phantasme, because the meta here, even though there's a lot of Tempai, there's also a lot of Yubel and a lot of Memento and Chimera. So I prepared for almost everything, as much as I could, considering that I'm playing 60 cards. So I played double Phantasme because 3 is too clunky, in my opinion. It's not something that you really want to see, but you can search in the Snake Eyes matchup. You can search if you draw the Magnamut, you can Magnamut end phase search, and when they go IP, when they go Flamber to summon IP, you special the Phantasme, and that also gives you draws on your turn. And if they make SP, it also gives you an interruption or a negate on the SP. We played One Shot All Dragon for those pesky floodgates that we can't get rid of. So we send it with Bandit Fusion, go into Liberian the Sand Dragon, and pop whatever floodgate is pissing us off. We played Harpies. I drew it once, did not have to use it, but it was good to have. Dark Ruler, Triple Dark Ruler. This won me almost. This won me 3 rounds when going second because it facilitated me breaking the board. Then 3 Molcharmies. There's a lot of normal and special summoning from hand. Or there was a lot of normal and special summoning from hand. I actually drew, the most cards I drew was about 5, which is still pretty good considering the card it is. That was against the Yubel player. So, really enjoyed the card. Obviously, 3 evenly to go with our card draws and our board breaker strategy. For the final side deck cards, this Abelanatis was, again, the Light and Darkness Dragon. And because I knew I was going to be facing a lot of Yubels, I played a Yubel, the Loving Defender Forever. Now, a lot of people thought that I would shotgun the Fallen of Abbas effect when there's just a Phantom on field, but no, I want my opponent to use the Phantom effect so I can go into normal or special Fallen of Abbas with fusion deployment to go into this, because the Phantom cannot be used as fusion material, so I can't make this with the Phantom. So I 100% needed them to use the Phantom. It came up none of the times, but it's because my opponent's bricked. Otherwise, game 2 against the Hubo player, this would have come into play, and he would not have had a good time. That's it, guys, for today. Once again, shout outs to my teammates, Gabriel, John, Henry. You guys, thank you for lending me the cards so I could play. I really enjoyed playing the deck. Glad I was able to represent. And shout out to my team, the Extenders. Follow us on all our socials. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.